just start the session on the effect of the COVID and the real estate market in general. And our guest here, I mean, not a guest, he's from the family actually, but Mohanad has been with us for the past for the past more than 10 years now, 11 years if I'm not mistaken, Mohanad?
Correct.
More than 11 years. He's an expert in the real estate market in Dubai and internationally speaking as well. There is no, I think he's the most suitable person to be talking about the market pre and post COVID, because he's actually directly involved in the market. And allow me, Mohanad, to just give you a brief introduction, although I'm not prepared. I don't have a bio in front of me. So just based on my understanding of the topic and also your own expertise in the field. So he's going to be talking about the pre-COVID and the post-COVID, the effect on the real estate market. Mohanad has been with the Institute since 2009. He's an expert in property management. He's running his own company, Harbor Real Estate, for the past, I think, 10 years, Mohanad, also as well?
Actually, more than that, for over 15 years.
So he's managing a huge portfolio of companies involved in all aspects of real estate. So he's having a hands-on approach. So in addition to the conceptual elements, the conceptual knowledge through various publications, various appearances in the media, in addition to being one of the first real estate influencers, although I had that word. So Mohanad is really having a deep knowledge of the market and also a first-hand experience of what's going on in the market nowadays. And this is exactly our topic today. So I'm not going to stay for long with you guys. I'm going to leave the floor to Mohanad, but the roadmap for today is to ask particular questions that would benefit the audience today. The first would be, and I hope you take note of this because I'm not going to interrupt you, Mohanad. This is how I'm going to run the show. I'm not going to stay with you guys for longer, but I'm going to just help you take note of the questions that will guide our audience today. And then without interrupting you, Mohanad, you're going to structure it as follows. The first would be, what's the difference between leasing brokers, property managers, and FM managers and OA managers? What are the qualifications required? So this is the starting point, really. What are the differences between them? Qualification needed, different types of licenses available. And then we start talking about the COVID and the after COVID effects. What is it? What is the effect on landlords, on tenants? Is there any legal requirements that has been changing because of the COVID-19, elements of service charges, etc. So all these will be the topics discussed today. So first we start with the differences between the different real estate professions, then elements of the market, elements of property management, and then discussing the COVID and its impact. Floor is yours, Mohanad. And
Thank you very much, Dr. Marwan. Thank you very much. So I just wrote down some of the points you mentioned. I think the first question was related to the difference between the various service providers in the industry. And there is actually, thank you for asking this, because there is a mixed up between the different functions. A lot of landlords come to us and they say, why should I hire a property manager if I can get the service for free through a leasing manager? And there's a big difference between the two. The leasing managers are in charge only of one component of the entire scope of work that a property manager would offer, which is related to and focused mostly on the marketing and leasing of a property. But after that, the job of a leasing manager ends. And that's where actually the property managers are heavily needed. They, as I mentioned, it's only one component, designing the right marketing strategy and the leasing approach. But the property manager's scope goes way beyond that, which I will explain in a second. So the difference first between leasing managers is that they only handle the marketing and leasing of the property. I will explain later on what property managers do because it's a much bigger scope. The other, I think you mentioned, Dr. Marwan, was the facility managers and owner association managers. Facility managers, they're in charge of managing the common areas within any property. And they can vary in their scope. Some of them handle only soft FM, which are the soft services, services like cleaning or services like security management, parking lot management. And then you have the hard FM services, which includes more of the technical side of management of the common areas and maintaining them and managing them. The last component is the owner association management companies. They're actually companies that are licensed to represent owners in a joint owners property, mostly in relation to freehold or leasehold. And their core role is to represent the owners and the best interest of the collective owners vis-a-vis all the common areas, again, related to the property and the budgeting for that. So, for example, the facility managers would be appointed by the owner association managers in a community that has multiple owners, or a freehold or leasehold community. Now, the role of a property manager is different, because property managers, I always use the example of a company. Real estate is God's gift to humanity. It's one of the best investment asset classes that people love to own, because it generates for them cash flow and capital growth over the long run. So the role of a property manager is basically to run this investment or this business on behalf of the owners. So they act like the CEO of a company. So for me, as a property manager, I always think like I'm the CEO of the property I'm entrusted to manage. And when I actually act like one, it will lead me through the full scope that I need to deliver. A CEO of the company is usually in charge of setting the right foundation when it comes to policies, processes, systems, and hiring and nurturing and leading the right human resources that are required to manage an asset owned by another entity or another person. And the ultimate role of this CEO or the property manager is to help in maximizing the value of the asset and protecting it while generating growing income. And finally, the property manager is always in charge of all the operational aspects of the property. So under property management, you will have the strategic planning in terms of managing the assets for the short, mid, and long term. You have the financial planning and modeling. You're in charge of setting all, as I mentioned earlier, all the policies, setting all the processes and the foundation in terms of systems and human capital. You're also in charge of the marketing and leasing and working with leasing brokers. You're also in charge of the legal aspects, the financial, the reporting, even representing the owner at the owner association. So you're basically entrusted by the owner of the property to represent them in all the aspects related to this company or the asset that you're entrusted to lead from a strategic and operational point of view. And this is where it shows you the difference. So just to give you a practical example, if I'm an owner of a property and I give my property to a leasing manager, the leasing manager's job ends when it's leased. And that's why most of the leasing brokers, and with all due respect to all of them, they don't necessarily care a lot about the quality of the tenants they bring, because they know their job will end immediately as soon as the property is leased. Whereas as a property manager, I need to pick the best and the most responsible tenant available and bring them on board as a tenant for that property. Because I know if anything goes wrong beyond the signing of the contract, I'm in charge of handling it. If there is any legal dispute, if there is any issues, I'm in charge of resolving this issue. So this is just one difference that shows you how a property manager would be different from a leasing manager. Property managers, they, for example, as I mentioned earlier, would represent the owner in the owner association, or with a proxy can communicate on behalf of the owner with the owner association and negotiate with them and understand from them the strategy set for managing the community. Also, if I am the property manager of a full standalone building, so it's not part of a, let's say, a freehold community, it's in the GCC hold areas, then me as a property manager will be in charge of hiring the facility managers. And they report to me and I manage them, set their KPIs and manage their performance. So this is just, Dr. Marwan answers your first question in relation to the difference between the different aspects. I think you mentioned the next one was the different types of licenses in property management, which is something that a lot of people usually ask about or get confused about. you have from DREI different types of licenses. One is the property management license, which allows you to manage properties owned by others. And for this license, you need to have the right bank guarantee, which is as of now 5 million dirhams as a bank guarantee to protect the interest of the landlords and also the tenants transacting with the property manager or management company. Also, this license allows you to collect funds under the name of the property management company. So the rent checks can be issued in the name of the property manager or the property management company. And the other type is called the property supervision management license. Just by adding the supervision aspect, one, you're not allowed to collect any funds under your name as the company. It has to be in the name of the landlord. And therefore, you don't require the 5 million dirham guarantee. There is another type, which is property management for private owned properties. So this is for big families that own their own funds, but they require a team to work for them. So they need to have a trade license to hire people to work on managing their own portfolios. And that's a specific license. Obviously, from its title or name, it does not allow you to manage other people's properties. So these are the main three licenses. You can add to your trade license the activity of brokerage for leasing or brokerage for sales. You can add these licenses. So as a property manager, you're not necessarily able to lease directly. You can use leasing agencies unless you add this activity, the leasing activity in your license. I think this covers the foundation of what you asked me for, Dr. Marwan. I can't remember the other questions, but I think the topic of today, or what Tarouk told me, was about the COVID-19 and how can property managers work and within the current situation. For that, I would like to start by saying that during crisis situations or tough conditions, under such pressure, you can find the real or realize the real mettle of a property manager or a property management firm, because during crisis situations, this is where the role of a professional property manager comes into play. Why? Because as soon as we started the crisis, all other sectors, or most of the sectors, were on freeze. Everybody had to be locked down except for the industries or the professions that had to be on the front line, like nurses, like doctors, like security, police officers. With us, we were also the front line because a lot of tenants were calling us, a lot of landlords were calling us. Why? Because landlords got very nervous about their income being affected or put under pressure. They were very worried about the cash flow coming in. They were fearful that they will get bounce checks, and that happened. It's a reality. And on the other hand, a lot of tenants were under pressure because their income was either slashed or some people got laid off and lost their jobs. And this affected their ability to commit to the rent they actually agreed to pay. So during that period, we were asked immediately to come up with solutions to handle both parties. So property managers are not just managing the property. Actually, a very big component of the property manager's job is to handle the people, handling the landlords, handling the tenants, handling contractors, subcontractors, handling your own teams. So it's not just about handling the actual asset. It's handling the people that are engaged with the all the stakeholders that are impacted by the asset and the crisis. So during this time, we immediately came up with a strategy to help mitigate the risk and the implications of the COVID-19. Obviously, it was presented to the landlords. At Harbor Real Estate, we manage mostly institutional portfolios. So we came up with tailor-made recommendations for each portfolio that we manage and had different pillars. One of them is working on first protecting the actual tenants, because they're very important. The tenants are the source of income, the cash flow for the landlords, and also we get paid a percentage of the revenues that the business or the assets generate. So for us, it was very important to calm them down, to protect them, to come up with the right strategies to show them that we are aware of the situation and we are going to support you. So the first pillar of the strategy was focused on the tenant protection and assurance. So we came up with a lot of initiatives. Some of them are financial and some of them are related to prevention in terms of health aspects. So obviously, as I'm sure you would expect, we had the right procedures within the actual assets. We spoke to the service providers, the facility managers involved in every project. We came up with the right strategy in terms of checking all the visitors, all the residents, making sure there is full adherence to all the safety procedures involved. When it comes to the actual tenants, we work with them also on sending them tips and information on how they can handle this, the crisis and how they can protect themselves and their families. So there was a lot of communication. Communication was key during that phase with them. There was also the financial aspect where we came up with a policy to handle all different situations. People who are affected directly, they either lost their jobs or they were hit, their salaries were hit, as in slashed, and what could be the policy for them. So one of the key lessons we learned is that we need to have a standard reply to every situation, because we cannot allow every tenant to come and hear a different answer. We came up with standard replies based on a policy agreed with the landlord. For example, people who lost their jobs, we either, depending on different clients, I'm going to give you different examples. Some of the landlords said, you know what, we can allow them to leave immediately. We will waive all the penalties. Some landlords were saying, no, we will actually grant them a grace period of free rent. I was very touched by some of the landlords who came and said, listen, we will offer up to 3 months free rent to our tenants who were affected, but given that we follow the right process. So the policy was free rent if you lost your job, and the process is how we validate and verify that you physically actually lost your job, because a lot of people were also, not a lot, a few people were trying to take advantage of the situation. So we had to also come up with a process to validate that. And then we had kind of landlords who said, no, I'm not willing to be lenient at all, which were a small percentage. I think we were blessed in the UAE that a lot of people were empathetic, not just sympathetic, empathetic with the situation, the landlords, and they worked accordingly to the situation. Some came up with new ideas, for example, deferring payments. And we had actually some of the landlords sending kits to the homes of their tenants, which had like sanitization tools, masks. They were really showing them that they care. And guess what? This really had a huge impact. We had people really touched by this. And I'll tell you also stories about some of the tenants who came to me personally and said, you know what? Thank you very much. Tell the landlord, I swear to you, I had tenants saying, I don't need the free rent period. I'm okay. My job is still fine, because some landlords just offered immediately 1 or 2 or 3 months free rent to all their tenants. So the landlords were being generous, and some of the tenants were also being generous, saying, thank you very much, we don't need it. Please pass it on to somebody who needs it. We know that some of our neighbors are also affected. So this was something really, really an experience that helped shape us. But the message I would like to share with everybody is that we were immediately put under pressure. We were not sitting back and relaxed. We actually had to work extra hours. We had to obviously embrace the new technology, working remotely. But it's very tough for a property manager not to be there. So we had people actually, believe it or not, who were working during the lockdown. We had the right permissions from the government and the relevant authorities to work. And these people did not get any salary reductions. We even at Harbour Real Estate were giving people bonuses and overtime for these people who were actually sacrificing their time and their safety to serve the communities they're managing. So that's one of the things. And we felt that a lot of the tenants who were there were very appreciative, and they assured us that they will continue. I think one of the main aspects that any property manager should focus on is tenant retention, not just acquisition, not just getting new tenants, but also focusing on retaining tenants. So that was one of the experiences vis-a-vis the tenants. For the landlords, obviously, they were all nervous, affected. They felt that, one, the valuation of their assets were hit, so they were nervous about that, especially the institutional clients who care a lot about their valuations for their bookkeeping, for their board, shareholders. And second, the income, the cash flow that they were generating from these assets. They felt the heat, they felt the impact, but I think they also realized that they are undergoing or experiencing what we call in economics a black swan, something that is out of control, that nobody predicted. So they were also understanding. They knew that it's a big hit, but they knew that this is a phase. It will eventually pass, and things are bound to go back to normal. So they were more receptive to us giving them solutions and ideas of how we can work with tenants, like the examples I mentioned earlier. By the way, there was also a very interesting consumer trend and industry trend that emerged, and we depicted that, and we took advantage of it, which is the internal migration. So some of the tenants felt that they were not being treated fairly. Their landlords were very harsh, not responsive. So they started thinking of, I want to move. One, because they're not being sympathetic or empathetic with them. And second, because they felt now more than ever that they cannot afford maybe to stay in that asset anymore. It's too expensive for them because of what's happening and the implications that will happen even post COVID-19. And three, because the actual demand or the actual usage of real estate has changed. The hashtag of work from home or stay at home have changed people's perceptions and the way they use real estate. So because of that, a lot of companies, for example, approached us saying, listen, we would like to relocate our offices to a cheaper location, to a location that has more flexible payment plans, because most of our employees anyway will start working remotely, even post-COVID. We're embracing this new change. So we need smaller spaces in more affordable areas. So we took advantage of this and we came up with amazing campaigns to attract these kind of new demand, if you want. The same thing with residential. A lot of people started thinking after the COVID and what they experienced that we need different properties now. We need a house that has a balcony, better views, bigger living areas to accommodate our exercising space. We need a house with a study room or an office for our children, for ourselves. So the demand also changed. So we again jumped on the opportunity, started capitalizing on this in terms of how we can promote our projects. And definitely we added also the foundation of the assurance and the safety. So for example, all our tenants now receive a full, in the past it used to be, we will deep clean the unit before you move in. Now we added the component of sanitization. So your property will be fully sanitized, sealed. When you open the door and walk in with your family, it will be fully sanitized, which is something people appreciate. So we worked with innovative ideas on how we can turn this situation into an opportunity for us and for the landlords we're working with, and also for the tenants, to show them that they can save, they will be in a safer environment, and in a place where they can have a better lifestyle. Another aspect that I would like to share with everybody, so we talked about the tenants, we talked about the landlords and the strategies, and there was another aspect which is the crisis management. I remember at one evening we had a session, a workshop, which took almost 5 hours. We finished like almost at 2 a.m. We were working on a crisis management strategy that had different pillars and different aspects. For example, in case the scenario of one of our tenants being diagnosed with COVID-19, what happens? You know, if they tested positive. And what happens under that strategy? We had another strategy for if one of our employees was tested positive, and then contractors or subcontractors. So we worked on different scenarios and what could happen step by step, and how we can mitigate this risk and how can we handle that situation. That was a very useful exercise. And guess what? We had one case in one of the projects we managed. We managed over 12,000 properties in different areas in the UAE. And in one of the communities, we had a case. But guess what? Because we had that workshop done, we were extremely prepared. We immediately it was so nice. Like I remember I told them immediately send slide 46 to the team to remind them of the procedure and the process we have to take in this situation. They handled it extremely professionally. It made everybody feel relaxed because they knew what they needed to do. Plus the tenants felt how responsive and how fast we were. The tenants being in the actual complex or the community, they were aware. So there was part of the communication is informing them, but assuring them we took the necessary action, and it was handled extremely professionally, and it left a very good positive impact with everybody internally, for us as employees, as property managers, and the teams we work with, and the suppliers, subcontractors we work with, for the landlords, and for the tenants. And even the authorities were very impressed and appreciative of the way we handled this situation. So this, I think, sums up in a way the experience we had when it comes to handling the crisis. I know it sounds like a cliche, but at the heart of every crisis, every problem, there is a great opportunity waiting to be found. And we honestly embraced it in a very positive manner. We looked at the opportunities. We did not have to lay off any of our employees. We didn't even have to introduce like major cuts or anything. Business was going as usual because we looked at it from a positive point of view. We handled the situation in a positive point of view. We turned it to an advantage to show our real metal and how professional we are and how empathetic we are. We encouraged also our landlords to do the same. And I think things are under control. I want to talk also about another aspect related to COVID-19 vis-a-vis the macro level. We are blessed in the UAE that we have a very wise leaders who were very responsive and very prompt. I think all of you agree with me, and we all can see all the initiatives that were done from a health point of view to secure everybody, the number of tests, how fast they do it, and all the centers that were established to test for COVID, which now is echoing all over the world. Everybody is talking about how great and how fast the UAE is, and how impressive they were in handling the situation to control it. And second, from real estate aspects point of view and economical point of view, I think the fiscal policies, the monetary policies that were introduced to counter the COVID-19 implications were fantastic by all means, were very wise. The central bank initiatives, the government introduction in terms of reducing some of the overheads, expenses, freezing some of the fees payable by companies or by people, the visa situation. A lot of initiatives were introduced. In addition to that, from now zooming in even more from a real estate point of view, I was filled with so much pride when I heard about the decree of His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum announcing that no evictions will happen for a period of 2 months when the crisis immediately started. I mean, honestly, who would think of such a thing during the mid of a crisis? Only a wise and a mature leader would do. And this also gave a lot of assurance. A lot of people were asking, what can I do? Am I going to get evicted? What's going to happen? I remember I even had workshops and discussions with the judges from the Rent Dispute Center. His Excellency Judge Abdul Qadir Musa, the head of the RDC. I had a brainstorming with him and the team. We were talking about how this could impact the cases and the legal cases in relation to eviction, and could this be used as a forced measure or not? So there was a very extensive discussion about it from a legal point of view. I think also one of the things that I'm very proud of as a CEO of Harbour Real Estate, and I would love to share this with you, is we immediately also embraced this as an opportunity to give back. So what we did is, if you recall, there was a campaign running during that time for the 10 million meals. We proudly contributed to this, I think, with more than like 10,000 meals. We also contributed from our side a big amount of money to the Rent Dispute Center Fund. They have a fund called Yad al Khair, or the Hand of giving, and we contributed to that fund to help families who were affected during the COVID-19, the coronavirus crisis. And it was received very positively by the media, by the RDC, by the Dubai Land Department, by our tenants, by the landlords we work with. And it really allowed us to give back and thank the UAE and Dubai for hosting us for, as I mentioned earlier to Dr. Marwan, we've been here in the UAE for now almost 2 decades. But Harbour has been started in Australia almost 48 years ago. So we still feel that this is, for me personally, it's like home, but for the company itself and the owners, the shareholders, we still feel that we're visitors here and we were welcomed in a very fruitful grounds, Dubai and the UAE, that helped us grow and realize our real potential in the UAE. So I think I spoke enough about COVID-19 from different dimensions. We looked at it from tenants' point of view, from the landlord's point of view, from us internally point of view, from the government's point of view. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions about it. I think Rani sent talking about qualifications of property management. So I think you're asking about the qualifications required for somebody who's interested to work in property management. There are academic requirements, or not requirements, foundation, I would say. I personally, for example, have a master's in property management. My thesis was about REITs, real estate investment trusts, from Salford in the UK. I come personally from a family, I'm blessed. My family has been in this business for 4 generations. So my father is an engineer, my grandfather is an engineer, my father's grandfather was always in real estate as an investor and as a developer. So I grew in a house that helped me do that. So, but that doesn't mean that you need to have that to be in property management. The Dubai Real Estate Institute offers a diploma course for people who don't have a degree in real estate, offers a certification course, the CPM, the Certified Property Management course, which I believe I attended so many courses. I think it's one of the, I would say, most credible and most holistic certification courses in this field. So if you want to work in property management, you can apply for the CPM, the Certified Property Management course at the Dubai Real Estate Institute. But there are so many qualities required in a property manager. So there are personal qualities, professional qualities that are required to be in any property manager. And I don't think a single property manager can have all of them. That's why we have companies. So as I mentioned earlier, a property manager is like a CEO. A CEO needs to know about every aspect of the business, but needs to have specialists that he can trust. He needs to know, for example, about finance and accounting, but it's good to have a CFO and a head of accounts to help, build or deliver the depth. But you need to have the breadth as a property manager about maintenance and the technical work. You need to know about valuation. You need to know about leasing, even about sales, about tenant management, account management, reporting, operational aspects, legal aspects. So a property manager really needs to have, I would say, universal skills in terms of breadth. But in terms of depth, every property management company should have the right capabilities that can deliver on the full scope required from a property manager. Somebody is saying, is there a university in Dubai which gives the real estate certification instead of the Real Estate Institute? Not to my knowledge. I think, yes, there are some universities, but they don't give you a qualification in property management. I had to get my degree from Salford University, by the way, in collaboration with the Dubai Real Estate Institute, because the Dubai Real Estate Institute, one of the great things about it, and I'm saying this objectively, I've been part of the founding team when the institute started, even before 2009, and I would confidently tell you that they've been working very hard on building the best ties, best collaborations with the best universities in the world. In Singapore, in the States with Harvard, the UK with Stanford University. So there are fantastic programs that I encourage each and every one of you to explore. You can speak to the admin team at the institute, and I'm sure they will share with you a lot of amazing programs and certification programs from very reputable universities in collaboration with the Dubai Real Estate Institute. My personal experience with Salford University was fantastic, to say the least. So I definitely recommend it for everybody. Any other questions? I think we're going okay with the time. Yes, somebody's saying, in regards to the landlord, is there a law on penalty being waived off if the tenant loses his job since the tenant has signed the contract? Again, Rani, there isn't a law. No law has been passed except for the decree I mentioned to you from His Highness Sheikh Maktoum for 2 months, which were over already. But I know of cases at the RDC where they have waived the penalty for specific cases, but I don't have the full details in depth. I would recommend that you speak to one of the lawyers at the Rent Dispute Center or a lawyer who specializes in rental disputes, because not any lawyer can advise you about rental cases. It's like going to a doctor and saying, can you check my teeth? And they'll tell you, look, I'm a surgeon, I'm not a dentist. So it's a specialty. Also, you need to find right lawyers who have the right expertise and the right know-how in rental disputes. Any other questions? If someone have CPM from Dubai Real Estate Institute, can he go for RES 202 from DREI? I think you need to ask the admin team. My answer, I think yes, but please validate this again with them. They can confirm the answer to you. I don't know if Saji or Muhammad or Her Excellency Hind is with us who can answer this. Any other questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, I can keep going. I can talk about other aspects of property management, or for example, related to the COVID-19 pandemic, or in general about property management. But I'd just give you another maybe 10 seconds to see if anybody has a question, because I would rather answer your questions specific, if you have any specific cases or questions. Is there a library in the Dubai Real Estate Institute? Yes, Sam, there is a small but very purposeful library. It has books that are related to this. If you're interested in extra reading, I can recommend some titles for you. By the way, one of the books I recommend is my book, which is sold at the Dubai Real Estate Institute. It's about property management. I think it's the only property management book published from the region here. And I'm very proud that since it was released almost a year and a half ago, more than 90,000 copies were sold. It's definitely a bestseller here in the Middle East, and it gives you a very detailed overview about property management from A to Z, everything you need to know about property management. It also includes more than 140 working templates that you can use. It provides you with policies, processes, checklists, like amazing templates that can help you in the entire cycle of property management and all the ongoing functions. You can find this book at the Dubai Real Estate Institute. It's available there at a very good rate for anybody who wants to buy it. So other questions are coming. Good. Do OA managers need to have? I think somebody's mic is on. I think it's Haidar. Haidar, can you please switch off your mic? I don't know if he's hearing me. Can you please switch off? Yes, thank you very much. So the question says, do OA managers need to have the property management qualification or expertise to be a good OA manager, or even to practice such job of OA management? Not necessarily. You don't need it as a requirement to get your license, but I recommend that you do it for sure. For OA managers, just to understand how things work from both sides. For myself, for example, attended all kinds of courses. I attended the valuation courses, the OA courses, the FM courses. I attended all the kinds of courses, because it's always good to see things from different aspects, you know. So I recommend as an OA manager for you to attend the CPM course, just to understand how they work, because you part of your job is also to work with owners or property managers that represent them. So it's good to understand their psychology and how they work and what their job entails, to help, if you want, cement your understanding of your job as an OA manager. If a tenant somebody's asking you an email to take over the flat back, and he has already left the country and has no plans to return. I actually had a case like this. This is very funny. I had a case like this just, I think last week. A lady, one of our tenants, left the country back to her home country, and she just sent a WhatsApp saying, "I'm not coming back." So that's it. So we immediately communicated with her, and part of our processes in our tenant registration form, we always have, this is a very good advice for all of you, we have the full contact details of the tenant, and we always tell them, in case of emergency, who shall we contact? In case of a medical emergency, who shall we contact? And we asked them for 2 contact numbers, full details. So we were very easily able to reach her. So we reached her, communicated with her, and we told her, please send us an official notice. We understand your situation. We empathize with it. But why burn your bridges? If you ever want to come back, please send us a full letter confirming why you left. She lost her job. Give us the proof. Give us the details so that we don't get forced to file a case against you, and this could prevent you from coming back. And she did. She communicated with us properly. She sent us the communication by email. We checked with our legal department, and they said this is sufficient to take over the property, and the landlord was in agreement with that. So it works if it's done in a proper communication with the right template for it. Somebody is saying, Sam, I already read it. It's very useful. Thank you, Sam. So this is a live testimonial about my book, everyone. If you want your copy, please buy it from the Dubai Real Estate Institute. Adil is also saying, I have your book. Awesome. Please, can you recommend other book to enhance our knowledge in real estate? By all means, I can recommend a lot of books for you about real estate. I actually have a huge library. I wish I can show you. I can send maybe Saji from the Institute 10 titles that they can share with all of the attendees for you to read them. And I hope you find them very useful. Somebody is saying, thanks for answering. I believe many OA managers are lacking the qualities of the property managers, especially in representing the OA interests. Yes, I cannot generalize, but yes, I agree. I think when it comes to knowledge or gaining more knowledge, you can never go wrong. It's the only investment you will never lose in. So I never heard somebody reading a book, attending a webinar, or paying for a course at the Dubai Real Estate Institute, leaving and saying, oh, I lost. You never lose, you always gain. This is the best investment you can make in yourself, for yourself, is investing in yourself. Somebody is saying, is there a place where we can read it in the RDC cases and the judgment like other courts so we can get experience from them? That's a very good message. I think there is a tool called the Smart Judge, where they don't per se give you the verdicts published, but at least you can get automated answers. So you can communicate with it, and it will tell you what the verdict is, which kind of cool because you know the answer automatically. I usually visit them a lot. They are very patient at the Arbitration and Reconciliation Center because they try to actually resolve cases before they become official cases. So I usually go to them, ask them questions, get their feedback. I'm also blessed that I had the pleasure of training all the judges at the Rent Dispute Center. So I have all the numbers. So sometimes I call them for advice. But look, I encourage you to download the app and check with them as much as you can. Also, as I mentioned earlier, part of the structure, the setup of managing a property, think of it, you're a CEO again, you're entrusted to manage this company. It's a company. You need to have a very qualified legal advisor as part of your team, be it internal or external, that you can revert to regarding any cases. Somebody is saying, one of the questions, please advise on official notice. Does it have to come from UAE embassy or normal email? In that situation you asked earlier, I did it with an email and it worked. I even checked with our legal department. The tenant sent us the proof that she lost her job, and we spoke to the landlord. They were okay, so we confirmed everything by email, and it was accepted. So I don't think there's an issue with this. You don't need, to my knowledge and experience, to have it as an official notice. If you can get it, that's an extra thing. It never harms. What about after COVID-19? Somebody is asking a question. Thank you for that question. I think we are now entering a new era. So everything will change, I would say, from now, not even wait till the COVID is over, because I don't think COVID will. I heard, I'm following the news like all of you, and they're saying it's here to stay. So we have to adapt with it. So I think what's going to happen now is that survival will be for the, not the fittest, for the people who are able to adapt, for the people who are able to innovate during the new era. So my answer to you is, what's going to happen after COVID-19? We have to adapt, we have to innovate, we have to depict and capitalize on any industry or consumer trends that might emerge. I gave the example of the internal migration of tenants. Come up with the right solutions, understand the mentality of the tenants and the landlords, and work on solutions as property managers that will serve both parties in a professional way, that will cement and strengthen our position and our role as property managers. It's an extremely important function in the industry. People usually consider it the forgotten cousin in real estate. Everybody focuses on brokers or developers, but our role is extremely important, because as Dubai and the UAE continues to develop and more projects are being handed over, our role will become more vital. And also as more institutional portfolios and REITs keep coming to the UAE and take it as a base for them, because it's a safe and very fruitful grounds with very ambitious plans. I think our role will become also more important, and our function will become more needed as property managers. Also, what's going to happen, at least I can tell you, it's very hard. I think Christine is asking, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen on the long run, but I can tell you next year, it's the year of the 50th anniversary, the year of the preparation for the next 50 years. It's the year of the Expo. It's the year of, so many great initiatives will happen next year. And if you know the UAE and the leaders of the UAE, I think you should get the same feeling I have in terms of the assurance that there will be great initiatives that will be launched next year. When the UAE announced, for example, the year of tolerance or the year of the late His Highness Sheikh Zayed, we saw how many great initiatives were introduced during these years themed at these topics. Imagine a year themed as the year of preparing for the 50 years, or a year that will be, the 50th anniversary year. I think it will be a fantastic year filled with a lot of long-term initiatives and strategies that will definitely have a positive impact on the overall economy and also on the real estate sector. So I'm usually very positive, realistic positive. I always read all the aspects, but by nature, I'm a positive person. So you always get a positive answer from my side. As I told you earlier, we treated at Harbour Real Estate this crisis as an opportunity for us to show our real mettle and to come up with new innovative products and solutions, and it's working. Guess what? We just received 3 mega portfolios coming to us, handed to us. We didn't even have to pitch for it, because the other companies managing it failed miserably in handling it. So it came to us because landlords saw that we are capable of managing it. A lot of tenants are coming to us because they feel more secure and they will be treated in a professional way. So it's an opportunity. Just take it in a positive way. What about if the tenant had belongings in the flat when they left? How do we deal with her goods? Look, if she gives you an official statement saying that you can, I'm handing over the property, I'm not, it gives you a waiver, and there's a template for that. It's in the book, by the way. And she sends you that, and then you are in a very strong legal position. If she mentions that there are belongings and you can take care of them, what I advise you to do is, when you open the property, make sure that you create an inventory list of everything, share it with her again to confirm that she's fine with letting them all go. Most of the people who leave these things are usually not valuable anyway. So you either decide to sell them or to give them away, whatever. Or some people opt for the option of storing them for a while if you have extra storage space that you're not using, until, such time where you can get an official confirmation that they're not needed anymore. I have to advise you also to go through the legal route, which is filing a case, getting an inspector from the RDC to go open the property, again do the inventory list, store the belongings, and then use the property again and rent it. So that's the legal route to take. Is the email considered an official notice, or we should send everything through notary public? I answered that. Look, the notary public is always the safer option. So I would say, because of we're doing this here the official way, yes, use the notary public or registered mail as stated in Law 33 of 2008. I mean, Article 25.1 and 25.2, they list all the cases of when the tenant is in violation under 25.1, and at the end they say it has to be served under through notary public or registered mail. And in 25.2, Article 25.2, it mentions the cases where you can ask the tenant to leave because of a just reason, like the 4 reasons. If you want to sell the property, if you need to demolish it, if you need to do major renovation, or if you want to use it yourself. But for that, you need to serve a 12-month notice using the notary public or registered mail. So in both cases, it's mentioned in the law. If you want the safer option, use the registered mail or notary public. Somebody saying, what's the best way to deal with abandoned cars in visitors parking? Well, look, for that, I always go back. If you remember earlier, I told you about the definition of property management. You need to have the right policies, processes, systems, and manpower trained to handle and manage the assets. So in our policies, we always have a section about an addendum about managing parking bays, because if you call the police and you tell them, hey, listen, somebody has parked in my spot, or somebody is turning the parking into a garage, fixing stuff or washing it and trashing everybody else's cars, the police will not interfere. The police will interfere only if there's an accident or somebody blocked somebody else's car. You know, they will get involved in these situations. Otherwise, try. If you call them, they're going to come and tell you, well, listen, this is within the complex. You as a property manager or owner, the representative, must handle this. So I advise you to have a very clear policy in your contracts, part of your contracts or an addendum to your contracts that handles these situations, where it says, for example, if a car is abandoned, like I'm sure you've heard this before. If you leave your car in a shopping mall beyond a certain hour, it will be towed at the expense of the owner of the car. So you can add something like that, but please make sure your lawyers develop these addendums or templates for you to ensure that it really protects you. Hello, Saji. Yes, you sent me a private message. What's up? What is your view of the procedures that some property managers take against tenants in terms of access to services due to default by respective property owners on service charges? Yes, I remember a huge case happening in the media a few years ago around Nakhil on the Palm, because they blocked a lot of people from using the facilities because the owners were not paying. Well, look, this is my point of view. I think every owner must be responsible enough to pay their service charges. It's a must. And part of our policies, again, is we ensure that owners pay their service charges, or we pay it on their behalf from the rent income, to avoid these situations, because the tenant deserves to get access to these facilities. They paid, not just, tenants don't pay to rent a property, they rent the lifestyle. So it's not just the actual property, they want to enjoy the full lifestyle. So in these situations specifically, what happens is, if a community prevents a tenant from using the common areas, the tenant has the right to go and file a case against the landlord. He cannot file a case against the community directly. They have to file a case against the landlord, ask for a compensation or whatever they can get legally. And then this way, the landlord will be pressured from both parties, from the owner association and from the tenants, to do the right thing, which is paying your service charges on time. So that's my answer to that question. How to deal officially with noisy tenants if he owns his property? I think this is my answer to you, and I love how this is turning into tenant management. Read my book. There's a whole chapter about handling all the kinds of problems that you could face with. I actually can write a book only about all the cases related to tenant management. Some of them are like funny, some of them are scary, some of them are sad, some are different cases. Anyway, regarding to this, I think in this specific example, because you're saying he's an owner, he's not a tenant, you have to report this to one of two parties, either the owner association, and they must take action. We're blessed in the UAE whenever we have noisy tenants, and I've tried this personally. I call the authorities, the police come, and they immediately ask them to stop the noise. And if they repeat it, I had a case personally where they took the resident, the owner, to the police, and they made them sign an undertaking. If they do it again, then it becomes a legal case. They can go to and serve jail time or fines. So most of the time it stops as soon as the police comes, but you can also report this to the owner association and they need to take care of it. Somebody saying, agreed, that owners must pay, this is Iyad, but is it right to hold the tenant responsible? No, of course not. I just answered that, Iyad. I told you the tenant has the full right to enjoy the lifestyle they paid for, and therefore, but look, you need to understand that the relationship between the owner association or the community management is with the landlord or with the property. So what they do is they are punishing the actual property. And yes, the tenant is a victim in it, but the tenant has the right to go and file a case against the landlord in this situation. And most of the time they will win it because they paid for the lifestyle, not just for the actual property. So this is what my answer to you. I think we're running out of time. The hour is almost up. So I'll just answer the next few questions. How do we deal with the AC provider if they send a bill to the tenant, July bill 1,700 AED for 1 month, and June bill was 300 AED, and they keep saying there is nothing wrong with the meter? Well, look, I know this is a very, I heard this actually in the last few weeks, a couple of weeks. People are complaining a lot about their utility bills. The best answer is to ask for two things. Ask for a inspector to come from the utility provider to come and inspect the meters, inspect the property to see if there's any leak that is causing this, that is not a hidden leak, that is causing this overconsumption or overusage and the higher bills. I've had cases where this was the issue, it's a technical issue. But if you're saying that no, it varied from a month to another, then you can ask them to conduct a proper investigation. If it doesn't work, you can escalate this. I forgot the name of the authority. It's like a Ministry of Power or something. You can file a complaint against them, or even file it at the economic department and see what they come up with. In general, I always give the advice of, please, for all property managers who are here, for all landlords or tenants, invest in energy saving initiatives or improvements in your property. I'm sure the property managers in the room here agree with me that, or owner association managers, that the biggest bill you pay for managing a community or an asset goes to utilities. It varies from as low as maybe 40%, goes up to sometimes up to 70% of your total budget for managing an asset, a building, for example. So the common thing to do is to actually invest in energy saving improvements to help in optimizing your utility bills. Noted with thanks. Thank you, Iyad. Okay, the last question. Is it right that the tenant can break the contract without penalty now because of COVID-19? No, Sam, this is not official yet. I had actually a very long workshop with the RDC, including the head of the RDC, and I'm rephrasing from His Excellency Judge Abdul Qadir Musa, the head of the RDC. He said there were talks about, yes, allowing tenants to do that as a new decree, but he felt that it's not the right thing to do because there are also landlords who will be affected. And please understand that landlords are not always richer or better. Some landlords, this is their only source of income. It could be orphans or widows that the property is their only source of income. So you cannot just immediately decide that, yes, we will take the side of the tenants fully and ignore the landlords and just, landlords are rich, so we will make them suffer, not the tenants. It has to be a balanced approach. And I think, I honestly believe that the UAE and Dubai has handled the situation in a very wise way that helped, create or control this balance. I think things are slowly not totally getting out, so slowly, but hopefully, surely we'll go back to normal. It will take time, a lot of effort, but we are blessed again that we are in a city or an emirate like Dubai, in a country like the UAE. Okay, I think that's it. Everybody else is saying thank you. I hope it was very useful. Again, we're very sorry, and please wish her all the best to Mrs. Taroub. I hope the reason why she's not able with us is because of something not serious. We wish her all the best. I would like to thank Dr. Marwan for jumping in and stepping in to help take over. Thank you very much for all of you for all the kind comments. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please, I will type now my email. If you have any questions, you can email me. I would be more than happy to answer them. If you need a copy of my book, you can find it at the Dubai Real Estate Institute, and I would be more than happy to sign copies for whoever wants a signed copy. And I wish you all a very happy day filled with positive energy and achievements. And thank you very much for your time. Saji, do you want to take over, or we're okay to just leave? Again, thank you for the Dubai Real Estate Institute team. I know they've worked very hard to organize these talks and continue in delivering their mission and really spreading the real estate knowledge across all the relevant stakeholders in the industry.
Okay, thank you, Mohamed.
Thank you, Saji. Thank you.
You can close from here.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.